Hey, what's going on, guys? Dottz here. So today I'm going to be bringing you all my New World leveling PvP build, and primarily right now I've been using the Rapier and the Fire Staff, and I just kind of wanted to make a video, guys, showing you all my week 2 progress, showing you what I'm using, what I'm wearing right now, and kind of what I plan on using going forward. If you guys do enjoy this video, I do plan on kind of making a couple more of these and updating you as I progress my character. Now, I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to after the first week of launch, the weekend after launch, and then like the first 2 days of this previous week. I'm recording this on October 8th. I had some stuff going on, so I had to take some time off. So I wasn't able to make as much leveling progress as I wanted to, but I still did get up to level 30, and so I'm pretty happy overall with the pace I'm making, considering I took, a good 5 days off from playing New World between Saturday and Wednesday. So overall, pretty happy with my progress. But like I said, just kind of wanted to show you guys what I'm wearing on my character here and what my plans are going forward, just so you can get a rough idea of what my build's looking like for New World. So in terms of our armor weight, I'll start with that. I am personally running in medium myself. I think medium is, for, pun completely intended, the perfect middle ground of armor. I think light is really good, don't get me wrong, for the damage, and the dodge roll is great. But if you take a hit while you're in light, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. At the same time, personally, I do feel that the heavy armor, while again, it does make you very tanky, you're very, very slow. And I think that mobility is, of course, very important for PvP. And so I just feel like medium hits that perfect sweet spot between enough armor to take a hit, you still get a damage bonus, you still have a decent hop with your dodge roll. And so I just find medium, in my opinion, at least, to be one of the better armor weights. And so that's kind of what I've been using right now for my armor type. In terms of what I'm actually stacking, I'm pretty much attempting to go all intelligence and constitution. I do have 5 focus, just unfortunately from the staff that I have on, so it doesn't really overly help us there. But I'm pretty much at this point just kind of using whatever gear I can find that has a combination of constitution and intelligence on it, or maybe just intelligence or just constitution. As you can see, I got the sentry boots on here, and I have the scholar legs. But in terms of like where I'm actually wearing the pieces, I pretty much have, as far as I know, the most optimal way to wear armor to make sure you don't crest over into heavy. As you can see, I'm 22.9, and if you were going to 23, you're going to be heavy. And that is a medium helmet, a set of medium gloves, heavy chest, heavy boots, as well as light legs. I do believe there are some other combinations of gear. I think there's only like 2 more that will net you the exact same total weight as well as armor rating, but this is one of the better combos you can wear, so definitely look into putting that on. But in terms of gems, because I do have some gem slots, I've been using either the spectral ward or the wilderness ward, just because he's absorbed some physical and elemental damage, which just basically, as far as I can tell, this is just damage reduction. So I've just been kind of using whichever one of these gems I can find for cheaper at the time. And then in terms of like, the actual score gear, I'm just basically using the best gear I'm able to find kind of at the moment, whether it be from drops from the trading post or from the faction vendor. Especially, I would definitely recommend on your servers, guys, to check out the faction vendor, or excuse me, the trading post, because I know at least on my server, I'm on Folkvanger US East, a lot of the trading post gear really isn't that expensive. And so like every maybe 5 to 10 levels, I've just kind of been going there and seeing what I can refresh my gear with. And it's been an extremely cheap endeavor. So I definitely recommend going there and actually checking that out. My necklace, I just have a physical ward in it. This is just what came with it. I believe I got this from the Amarine Expedition, and this just had it in it. And so I was just like, okay, I'll continue to use that. And then I got the Everfall thumb ring from, I believe, a quest line in Everfall. If you go into there and talk to William Heron in the inn, he's going to send you on a shitload of quests to go check out like all these like standing obelisk things around Everfall, and you get a pretty solid ring for actually doing that quest. So definitely recommend going and picking that up. Oh, speaking of which, I think I can actually equip a new bag, which is exciting. Let me actually toss that on now. I still have my old bag. I got to get a new one soon. But I also did thankfully get a tier 3 bag made by somebody on stream, which is nice. So I do have some extra encumbrance from that. In terms of my weapons, like I said, we got the Rapier and we have the Fire Staff. That's pretty much what we're using. Now, if you do have a Rapier with a gem slot, I highly, highly, highly recommend using a gem that gives it 30% intellect damage, whether it be a fire gem, a lightning gem, something that will give you 30% of the rapier's damage as basically like a magical source, because basically I'm stacking pure intelligence in this build. And so for those of you who do not know, the rapier's primary stat is dex, but the secondary stat is intelligence. So it still does scale with intelligence, but not as well as dexterity. However, if you put a magical gem in the rapier, 30% of the rapier's damage will now scale primarily with intelligence. And so it actually increases the rapier's damage by a significant amount and makes it, I think, a very viable strategy to just purely stack intelligence. So definitely recommend looking into that if you have it. In terms of potions and consumables, I'm not really using kind of like exactly what I would want if I was choosing to be relatively sweaty about it. I'm just kind of using whatever I have. I just have, you know, health potion, mana potion, corruption potion, and a buff food of sorts. Basically, what I'm pretty much going to recommend if you're looking for like more optimal consumables, I recommend some sort of health potion, obviously strong health potion if you have them. There's these things called the refreshing potions here. This restores a moderate amount of health and mana, does not share a cooldown with the health potion, so I would run that personally here instead of the mana potion. And I believe, don't quote me on it, I believe there is a potion here that you can wear that like removes crowd control. I swore I saw it in someone else's video, but I haven't gone out of my way personally to look for it yet. That would be the third potion I would recommend using. And then just any sort of food that gives you health recovery in combat, because basically what you can do while you're leveling, or just in general in PvP, I mean, obviously when I get more to end game, I'll use more like food that gives stats, but at least for just like leveling up and doing stuff, if you actually eat in combat, if you read this, you can recover 40 health per second for 20 seconds, and the recovery stops if damage is taken. But what you can do is literally eat in combat and just start running around. And if the person can't hit you, you're going to be constantly regenerating health. So actually, it's a little cheesy, but it does work really, really well. So I definitely recommend taking a look into that personally. But I'm pretty sure that kind of covers us on the gear front of things. So moving into stats, right now I have put, so basically at a base, there are 5 player added points into anything. As you can see, committed points 5. I didn't actually commit points here. Everyone's got a base of 5 points placed, but right now I have 70 into intelligence and I have 54 into constitution. I did put technically 10 points into constitution for a total of 15, because again, that base of 5, because I really do think that this is worth getting. All health consumables are 20% stronger. That's really, really big, man. Getting 20% increased healing on your potions. And in this game, at least what I've noticed pretty, you know, from outnumbered PvP so far, one of the biggest important things is being able to kite and heal. Obviously, you know, being able to kite away from your opponents, heal yourselves up with your consumables. And by making those consumables 20% stronger, you're just getting 20% more healing, which means that you are able to then get back into the fight faster. So I think it would be a little bit of a stretch, mostly from like a purely like a damage focus build, to maybe stretch for the 100 points in constitution. But I do think the 54 is absolutely worth looking into and definitely worth getting. I mean, maybe as we get closer to the end game and we get more stats, we might be able to reach to this 100, but for now, I definitely recommend while you're leveling, hitting that 54. It is a huge bonus. And then at this point, like I said, I'm pretty much stacking everything else into constitution. Myself, I've been using either a combination of the fire staff, the ice gauntlet, and the rapier, and all 3 of those scale well with constitution, so, or intelligence rather. So I've just been going super, super, super deep into intelligence, and it's been working really well for me so far. Now, in terms of my weapon talents and levels so far, for the rapier at the moment, I am currently using Tondo for the bleed. I think the bleed is absolutely fantastic. It's going to be no surprise I'm going for a dot build, okay? Should be no shock to anybody. So starting with my actives, I'm using Tondo. Tondo is really good. It gives an 85% weapon damage bleed over 12 seconds. You can stack it up, and on top of that, there's a really good perks that basically make it so that if you maintain this bleed, you're just giving yourself a flat damage increase, which is really, really good. From the Grace line, I also do run Evade, so this will allow you to perform a small, reliable sidestep in your current movement direction that cancels any activity and provides a momentary invulnerability. So this is an iframe, and what's really cool about this is that this can actually reset the kind of like the cooldown on light attacks, so to speak. So if you notice, right, if I go like light attack, do the 3 times, there's like a small delay before I start doing those stabs again, and then I go into the short side slashes here. However, if you use evade, you can do 1, 2, 3, evade, 1, 2, 3. See how fast that is? You're able to squeeze in a lot of damage with evade, but also evade can obviously be used defensively as a way to iframe certain abilities that come from your opponent, so it's extremely good. I also do use Fletch. Fletch is really strong. Really good gap closer, and it actually deals a lot of damage, which is, I think, one of the greater parts about a lot of the gap closers in New World, is that in other games I've played, I'll typically avoid gap closers because they're kind of useless outside of just closing the gap, but this actually deals a significant amount of damage. It gives you a 10-meter gap closer, or you could use it to kite, so I find it to be an extremely good active ability. In terms of my passives that I've grabbed right now, I've gone pretty heavily into Blood to start. So Refreshing Strikes reduces all cooldowns on 1% on any hit, which I think is fantastic. So as long as you're hitting your opponent, you are reducing your cooldowns. And because these don't really cost anything to use, you can get these cooldowns pretty low. You also have On Guard, which deals 10% more damage when your target has greater than 50% health. Just allows you to chop your opponent down that much more while they are high. We also run Unerring. Now, this is combos well with Tondo. This deals 5% more damage to targets with a Rapier bleed. So as long as you're maintaining that bleed on your opponent, you're going to be dealing 5% more damage to them with these Rapier skills. I also do Light Edge. This increases the damage from both middle swipe attacks and the light attack chain by 8%. So this basically just gives you a flat damage increase on like your kind of like light attack combo. Now, in terms of going down from Tondo, I do also use Thirst for Blood. When applying the first bleed to an opponent, this cooldown is reduced by 10%. So your initial bleed application will cause you to have a lower cooldown, which again I find to be personally very nice. Anything that lowers cooldowns is going to be very desirable. I also do have And Again. If you hit only one target, even on a blocked hit, its cooldown is reduced by 25%. Unfortunately, Tondo can be blocked. If they do, like most things, if they block it, you actually don't get the bleed. But the good thing is that if they block it, you just get And Again, and the cooldown is nearly nothing. So very good to make sure you're able to actually get that bleed up on your opponents. From Grace, I'm starting to go pretty deep into Evade's tree. All the Evade perks are extremely good. So I went for Breathe In, gain 20 stamina immediately on use. I also have Allegro, gain 20% movement speed for 3 seconds on use. Basically, like, lots of movement speed, man. People are really easily able to run in this game, like if they do not want to actively be hit. And so anything that increases your movement speed is going to be really good, in my opinion. I also do have Swiftness, 3% haste for 4 seconds on any hit, can stack up to 5 times. I believe haste is movement speed. I'm a little confused why sometimes they do gain 20% movement speed and then other times they just call it haste. I'm not really sure why it doesn't say 3% movement speed of 4 seconds can stack up to 5 times. But I tested it on stream, and I'm pretty sure haste is only movement speed, even by the picture that kind of indicates that. But you guys can let me know in the comments if I am incorrect about that, but I'm pretty sure it's just movement speed. But again, not really sure why these currently have 2 like different names on them. And then I haven't really grabbed anything under Fletch quite yet, though I do plan to pretty much finish out Grace here, or finish out Evade, finish out that tree. I plan to go down probably to here to backside on Fletch. I also plan to grab Controlled Breathing for more stamina, Red Curtains for crits to again reduce cooldowns, and then I do plan on eventually grabbing Momentum, gain 25% increased damage on your next light or heavy attack after performing an ability. And what's really cool about that is that we have a lot of stuff reducing cooldowns, and so we're going to be constantly being able to take advantage of Momentum for some more damage. Now, in terms of the Inferno Staff, or Fire Staff rather, I've been really enjoying this weapon. I will say, if you're using the Fire Staff when you're first getting started, the weapon really does open up a lot the more skills you get. And I'm going to show you guys kind of what I'm projected to use right now, but I will admit I need to test this before I fully commit to it, because the one concern I have about the Fire Staff, and I think one of the Fire Staff's weakness, is mana regen. And so I have kind of like a plan to regen mana and how I want to go about it, but if it doesn't work, I'll tell you guys what my alternative plan is. But really quick, starting off with the skills, I have Fireball as my main offensive. Fire off a heavy fireball, dealing weapon damage on impact and leaving a burning field, and this will also deal 10% damage each second while it sits there. Sting actually hits really hard, man. Deals good big AoE damage, leaves a burning field on the ground, forcing your target to move, which I do think is really good. I've seen some people use Pillar of Fire, and Pillar of Fire is also a very good skill. Does a little bit less damage than Fireball, but it is very good. I personally didn't like Pillar of Fire. I found it a little bit clunky to use, and I just find Fireball to feel like it just feels significantly easier to use. So I've been personally preferring this myself. I also do run Incinerate. This will cause a fire explosion around you to deal damage and push enemies back. And this will catch enemies on fire, dealing weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. This is really good to be able to push enemies back. And the good thing about Incinerate is that it's like the subtree skills are all really strong. So I do think this is a very good skill to have. And then finally, we also have another gap closer, which is Burnout. Pass through your targets, dealing 129% weapon damage on hit, and cause burning to deal 10% weapon damage for each second for 8 seconds. Burnout's extremely good. It deals a lot of damage, covers quite a bit of distance. And so between Burnout and Fletch, we are able to have quite a bit of mobility in this build, which makes it easy for us to kind of catch up to people, as well as kite if we do need to. In terms of passives that I've grabbed, I've focused pretty heavily on the Pyromancer passives to start because I think they're really good. So Pyromania, when holding a fire staff and below 50% max health, your damage is increased by 20%. So as you are low, you will be increasing your damage. This one is incredibly good. Let it burn. Whenever burn deals damage, you gain 10% fortify for 2 seconds. So I'm going to be, to absolutely no one's surprise, focusing really heavily on burning application and stacks of burning. Just number one, obviously for the dot damage, because I've won a couple of like fights just literally based on overwhelming burning pressure. And so I thought that Let It Burn would combine really well with that, since I'll basically keep a significant amount of damage reduction up on myself while I have that burn applied. I also do run Kindle to make burning last 20% longer. Again, focusing very heavily on burning, so I want it to last as long as possible. And then this one's really good. Watch It Burn. Light attacks will cause the enemy to catch fire, dealing 3% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. And this can stack up pretty high, man. I've gotten like 5 stacks of Watch It Burn up on them, so you're getting 15% weapon damage every second. You know, it can become a pretty significant dot when you also combine it with the rest of your damage over time abilities. Coming from the Fire Mage now, we have Fiery Restoration, so the heavy attacks will reduce Fire Staff cooldowns by 10% on hit. Also do have Clear Mind. While above 50% mana, you gain 10% in power to increase your damage done. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this passive. I just have to actually take it to be able to get down to the rest of the passives that I want. So I do also have Fireball, which we talked about already. Now, in terms of passives that I'm looking to get going forward, I am looking to also get Scorched Earth to increase Fireball's persisting field, as well as Catch. So if you actually do have a direct hit with Fireball, you will instantly give yourself 10% max mana and reduce Fire Staff cooldowns by 7%, which I think is incredibly good. So it basically rewards you for being accurate with your Fireball. Now, for more burning application, I do plan on using Singe. When you get a critical hit with a Fire Staff, you will then cause that burning dot for 3% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. And then it also combos really well with Spellslinger, which gives you 15% extra chance to crit. So Spellslinger will give you a higher chance to actually proc Singe to give you more dots. Now, here on the Pyromancer side of things, the last passive I plan on getting is Combat Speed. Again, Fire Staff ability, you're going to gain 10% haste or movement speed for 5 seconds. Again, anything that gives us movement speed, we're going to want. Now, the last thing I plan on getting is Reheat. This is going to take care of most of my mana gen for the Fire Staff. I am theory crafting at the moment. After 6 seconds without activating a Fire Staff ability, your mana regeneration increases by 400%. Now, I basically kind of did a test, and basically what I was able to do was blow all my Fire Staff abilities, light attack 6 times, which I believe each global is about a second. I could be wrong, but that's about how it feels. And then I still had mana to spare. And so I think at that point, Reheat would kick in. I would start regenerating a ton of mana, and I would basically be able to get back up to full relatively quickly, because 400% is pretty friggin' high. I don't know how impactful this is going to feel. I don't know if this is going to feel clunkier to use than I expect it to feel. I also don't think it unfortunately works when you do bar swap, which kind of stinks. So you would need to just kind of sit on that Fire Staff bar, not casting abilities, waiting for Reheat. And so I'm a little bit on the fence about this, but I think in theory it does sound like it would be very good. If this ends up not working and not being good, because I also actually do plan on grabbing All In. Fire Staff cooldowns are reduced by 5% for each foe hit by burnout. If Reheat ends up being really subpar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove All In and Reheat and place them instead in Spell Focus. So heavy attacks restore 5% of your mana on hit, as well as Flare, which heavy attacks no longer consume mana. Because if you do not know, Spell Focus sounds good in theory. Heavy attacks restore 5% of your max mana on hit. But heavy attacks also consume 5% of your max mana. And so if you just run spell focus, you would basically be losing 0 mana while you heavy attack. However, if you do spell focus and flare, which makes your heavy attacks cost no mana, your heavy attacks will actually restore them. So if this ends up not being good, if like reheat ends up kind of being subpar, I think it will be good. But if, like I said, for some reason, if it doesn't end up being, I'll remove reheat and all in and go for, like I said, flare as well as spell focus. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything right now. I have to say, I've really been having a good time with New World. I was definitely a bit cautious about the game going into release. I wasn't sure how the combat was going to feel and the gameplay was going to feel, but let me tell you, the gameplay is a lot better than it watches, in my opinion. It's been really fun. I've been enjoying it quite a lot, and I'm looking forward to bringing you guys a ton of New World content. I plan on doing builds here on the YouTube channel and eventually on my website as I get more towards the end of the game and develop more proficiency with the game. I plan on bringing you guys beginner guides, gameplay videos, PvP stuff. For those of you who don't know, I also do have a company on Folkvanger US East on the Syndicate, so if you guys do want to join, you feel free to join. Hit me up on Discord, discord.gg/DottsGaming, and we'll be able to get you into the company, as well as get you a role in Discord to be able to access all of our chat rooms. Because my goal with the company is to eventually do, wars and stuff as a group, and make our mark on the server. So I've been really enjoying New World, and I hope you guys did enjoy this first character update build video. Let me know what you guys did think about this, because if you guys did like this, I do plan to make weekly or at least bi-weekly updates showing you guys the progress on my character. But again, if you guys did like this video, appreciate it if you smacked a like on it. Any questions or comments about anything, feel free to leave them below. And guys, for more New World content, be sure to hit that sub button as well as hit the bell to keep those notifications on. So thank you all so much for stopping by today. I do very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dottz Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next video.